Welcome to The Outfit. My name is Ange.
And I'm Chris.
And together we have built a camper that you're about to see the full walk around of. If you're more interested about the outside of our Unimog, we've made a full walk around video last week, so we suggest you check it out before you watch this one. Now this camper, it took us around 6.5 months to build it from scratch, basically from the start to finish, July 2021 to January 2022. We had absolutely no experience whatsoever.
None.
We have also filmed the entire build last year, so if you are interested in more details, all the link will be in the description so that you can look back and see how we built this camper basically. So we're gonna take through from the front to the back and hope you like the video.
Now the main goal when we were constructing the interior of our Unimog habitat was to make sure it was strong, lightweight, and something that would last us a long time. This is kind of our 10-year build. I think we kind of succeeded. We've now been on the road for about 4 months now, doing some really hard forward drive tracks, and so far everything inside has been perfect. Now we used a bunch of different materials to build the inside of the camper out of. Some of those may be a little bit different than other builds you've seen, which you might find of interest. We'll go over each construction material individually as we go through the walkthrough. Now if you haven't seen our exterior walkthrough yet, the exterior shell of our camper is fiberglass reinforced plastic with an XPS foam in the center at 40 mil thick in total, which is called a monocoque structure. So everything that we built inside, we wanted to support that structure off-road and make sure that there was not much movement and nice and strong, which I think we've done.
So one of the main reasons we purchased the Unimog and built this camper is to have a child on the road in the coming years. So this is why we have built this little area just right here, where we're thinking we can have a cot, a mattress that will be perfect for it. At the moment, we use it mostly for storage. Underneath, we've got more storage, which was really important for us. We've got a big garage, which is underneath all the way here, and as well, more storage there. On the left, more storage. On the top, what we have is mostly our laundry bags, some towels, some jackets, so it's really handy storage that we don't use very often on a daily basis. Over here is our daily basis storage, where we've got our clothing, me on the left, Chris on the right. We use this soft storage box for our clothing, and we've got these little mesh bags for like socks, underwear, so that keeps the clothes nice and tidy. Underneath here is our main pantry. We keep mostly heavy items like cans, rice, jars, anything glass. We don't want that weight on the overhead cabinet.
When we were doing the interior construction, every section that we built has been made out of aluminium T-slot as sort of the structural backbone. And we kind of did it modular so that we could pull things apart if we ever needed to, if we want to kind of change our layout later on in the future, rather than having everything interlinked. So some of the materials we used, we wanted to make sure it had a nice finish, but it was also lightweight and affordable as well. Now we've used a birch ply, which is 12 mil thick, and that has a melamine face on either side. We have some basic ball catches which keep everything shut nicely, and then just some basic hardware and some exterior marine plastic nylon hinges. On this side we've reused some of the wood that came on the platform of the Unimog's tray when we bought it. So we sanded it all down, polished it up, and it's 20 mil thick. So this is a little bit heavy, but it was free kind of for us, and it's worked out really well in terms of its strength, and we kind of like the look of it as well. And that's a plywood. So we've used quite a lot of ply in the construction. Down below, and you'll see on a lot of our walls, is a plastic composite wall cladding, a little bit like shiplap. So we really like the effect that it gives. We like that it's so lightweight, and it's also very easy to clean, and it's nice and bright. Alright, so now into the wet room. Now this is by far the most complicated part of the construction for Ange and I to wrap our heads around, and we're really happy with the result, although it's a bit different from what you'll see on most builds. So we've gone with a combined composting toilet, kind of DIY composting toilet, and wet room shower. So we've got some awesome shower pressure. Now this shower head actually adds air, aerates the water, and it means that we don't use too much water when we're having a shower. So far we're really happy with the volume and really happy with the spread of it. So that can be pulled off, you can chuck it back on there. We've got heaps of room in here for having a shower, which is nice. Now the walls are made out of another similar kind of composite melamine material, and they were specifically designed for Wetroom, and they've got kind of this tiled look which we like, and again they're really easy to clean. We've got a fan, so that goes straight outside. We've got that on a separate switch. When we use that, that pulls all the moisture out quite nicely. In most of the camper, we've got warm lighting. Apart from in the bathroom, we didn't want to have any kind of yellowish shadows. So we've gone with quite a bright internal light, which can be pretty full on if you wake up in the middle of the night needing to pee, but so far we're okay with that, I guess. Now the toilet, I reused a lot of construction materials from the external parts of the camper. So this is our composite XPS foam and fiberglass 40mm construction material. Aluminium, we've got a normal toilet seat, and then in the back we've got a bucket, which is again pretty basic DIY composting procedure. And in the center we have a separate urine divider. So when we go to the toilet for number ones, that goes down out through the floor of the truck and goes to its own separate 40-litre tank. So we don't have to be emptying any kind of the liquids in here, which is really nice. It was the main reason we didn't go with the Nature's Head composting toilet, and that was so that we didn't have to be taking that 10-litre bucket of number one out through the camper every time. And then we've got, separate bucket. This opens up. We've got a full-time fan in here which removes any smell. So far we've not had any smells to deal with. And we have different kinds of material we can use for the composting process. At the moment we're trialing hemp, but in all honesty here in Australia we're normally not really doing number twos inside. We've normally got access to a toilet or access to a shovel to dig a hole. Toilet paper in here, everything you kind of need for a toilet. Now, here we've got a Quila floor that we built. That so far we really like the look of, but it has leached a lot of tannins, and that's stained a little bit of the sealant around. So that's been one of the main issues of this bathroom area. I think basically the tannins have stopped kind of leaching, but they do a tiny bit. So I may actually put some sort of a polyurethane lacquer or polish on it to see if I can stop it altogether. Underneath we have two drains, and I've put a fall in the floor, and that floor was made out of aluminium composite sheeting, a little bit similar to this panel here. And that means when we have a shower, it basically gravity feeds down into a separate 80-litre grey water tanking system. And having the two drains means that if the truck is on any kind of an angle, it'll always be able to drain through at least one of those. So I think that's the sort of the breakdown of what's going on in here. And the other thing we do is I've basically tried to seal the composting toilet as best I can with rubber sealing, but we've found that you can't really stop all of the moisture that gets through. And if you have any sort of experience with a composting toilet, moisture is your enemy. So what we actually do is run a plastic sheet which we stick on with Velcro every time before we have a shower. Now that was not an intentional part of the construction. That was something that we added after a few goes actually living in the camper, but we've actually grown really accustomed to it. We wish we didn't have to do it, but it's no big deal at all. It literally takes 25 seconds to set up. We then roll it up and it dries itself, so it works really, really well. Now we ummed and ahed with the shower door. That proved a bit trickier than we thought. We were thinking about a frosted glass one. The problem was that it remained shut all the time, and we felt like that might keep moisture in here. So we've gone with a retractable one. Not the most beautiful thing, but really practical. It cleans itself, it goes into a really small form factor, and it's nice and lightweight, and it's kind of all we really need. So that just shuts all the way, and then normally it stays open.
One of the other very important things for us was to have a lot of food storage because we eat a lot, especially Chris. So this is why we've got a huge upright fridge. It's just a normal household fridge, around 250 litres. One thing that we particularly like is we can have a freezer and a fridge at the same time, which was one of the downfalls of our previous setup, which we had to choose one or the other. So we've got plenty of frozen fish that Chris gets when he goes spear fishing, and we've got a lot of fruit. We never fill it up completely to the brim. As you can see, one of the main downfalls is the open from the left, but it's not a biggie. We just got used to it, and you can't unfortunately change it. One of the other things that we've done is install this baby-proof latch so that we can, every time we do our check, lock them into place and the doors don't open up when we go off-roading. Here next to the fridge, we've got a chopping board and a dustpan and broom. And under here, the grill that you can see is the grill for Truma air conditioner that Chris will show you a little bit later.
Alright, now onto the kitchen, the most important part of the build. So just starting with the bench top, it is Tasmanian oak and we recycled it from an old coffee table and then it fit perfectly here, which we're really happy about. We didn't have to do too much modification to it. On the top we've got induction. Now this is the first time we've run induction before and really used it at all for cooking. So we weren't confident enough in it to recess it into the table, but we did know we needed 2 hobs for the type of cooking that we do. I think what we'll do in the future is we'll buy a single hob that will be recessed into the bench and a second hob which is portable, a little bit like this, that we can put into a drawer when we're not using it, and that'll free up a bit more bench space because it's definitely taking up a little bit too much for my liking. Got a big kitchen sink, and you would have seen in the bathroom that we don't have a sink in there, so this is our all-purpose sink really, and it will kind of double up as a baby tub if we need it to. Soap dispenser, we've got 2 taps, one of them being for our fresh drinking water, which is filtered 3 more times because outside it's already filtered as well. So we've got major filtration going on in here, which is nice to have. And then just our standard hot cold tap with a pull-out dongle thingy bob, and that's quite handy. On this side we've got our second aircon duct, we've got that composite wall cladding, and then we've got our spice rack on magnetic holders, which are quite cool. Added a little bit of colour in here as well, and the same thing, magnetic knife rack, which is good. Up here we've got our overhead cabinetry. This is Ange's side and this is my side here. Made with the O-deck and the aluminium T-slot, which we've used for everything. So this is quite nice and light. We don't want anything really heavy up high on the Unimog. Keep that centre of gravity nice and low. And it doubles up as hiding a lot of our cabling, which we knew we needed to do as well. So lots of storage up there for Ange and my normal dry food. Onto the drawers. Just got our cutlery drawer and bits and bobs in here. Second drawer, we've got wood cutting board, plates, cups, mugs, coasters, and third drawer being the really big deep one is for all our pots and pans and a few larger things like Tupperware in there. Now on this side, this is the main cupboard for our big 40 litre Isotemp marine hot water cylinder. Now the awesome thing about that is not only is it 40 litres, so we do have a lot of hot water storage in here, but basically when we're driving along, the truck's engine heats up the coolant and that actually runs in through this hot water cylinder and gives us basically free hot water, which is really, really nice. And it's really well insulated and will last around 3 days for nice hot showers. We don't usually use hot water in the sink at all. When that hot water runs out, if we're stationary somewhere like a caravan park or at someone's house, then we can just switch it on at the wall and it will heat the water up in about an hour or 2 hours. We'll have boiling hot water for another day or 2. So that's been a really, really great addition there. Underneath we've just got some more plumbing and a little bit of storage for bags, a few bits and pieces here, and our pull-out rubbish bin, which has been perfect size really. We wouldn't need any bigger. It's all pretty basic in there I guess, but it's working for us quite well. We also have a screen down there for our diesel heater. Then last but not least, we have the secret hatch. Pull that out, we've got a fire blanket on one side and tucked straight in, easy to get to, is our fire extinguisher. And then under here we've got a ton of stuff. Ange will try and show you a little bit better on the Sony. Put that over there. But we have all of our plumbing, and that is quite easily accessible for us. So I built a manifold there so that I can switch off the hot water cylinder in case we ever had a leak. I can also switch between town water, high pressure supply, or our fresh water tank, so I can separate those very easily as well. We have more filters, so we've got a carbon filter and just your main sedimentary filter, and that will filter for this drinking water tap, and it will also run through a UV filter as well. So we've got, again, like I said, heaps of filtration on board. We've also got our Jabsco 40 psi pump, and that's proved A really, really good pump, heaps of pressure, doesn't cycle much now that we've added an accumulator tank, but it's too noisy. So probably in the future we'll change to maybe something along the lines of a C-flow pump, because it is just loud. And that's about what's going on in here, other than our Truma air conditioner under bunk system. Bit hard to see, but it's tucked away underneath the fridge. We don't use it very much, but it's really, really nice to have.
One of the things that was really important for us was to have a nice and big couch. So I think in that respect we really succeeded. We wanted something comfortable that we can relax in bad weather, and as well somewhere we could do some work quite easily. So in that respect the couch has been great. This is all custom made cushion, so it's a high density foam. We had to get as well some wedge for like a better back support. So after a few hours it's still like not the most comfortable place. It's still like a bit stiff, but it's getting better as the months go past. Another feature that we really like about the seating arrangement is the telescopic table here. So with the lever at the front we can move the table right and left, front, back, and we can also spin the table, which is super handy feature, so that before dinner we can just move it, or if we work and the other person just wants to relax, we can move the table accordingly. So over here we've got some little touches, like make it a bit homey, like candles, bamboo, plants. And one thing that is really important is the windows. We've chosen to go with double glazed acrylic windows. One of the main downfalls is they scratch pretty easily, but luckily now we've got some windows cover, so hopefully we don't get more scratches in the future. But other than that, we're very happy with them. They look perfectly into place. They've got 2 different opening seating, and they also have fly screen and a blind, which is really handy. So the fly screen we use it all the time for mosey and flies. And the blind, we don't use it that much for sleeping. We like to sleep without them, but it's quite handy when it's really hot outside to keep the camper quite cool inside.
Okay, so the bed was a bit of a headache to sort out, but we always at the start of our build wanted the bed to be above the couch and always made so that it's easy to put down over night time, easy to put away in the morning. So we sort of developed this pulley system. Bit of a nautical theme is what we wanted to go with, and we wanted it to be mechanical. We didn't want to be pushing a button and having a loud motor lift the bed and bring it back down. So all we've really got to do is push the table down, because that's telescopic, remove the outer cushions, we stack them over here, and then we get out our little sail winch handle and we crank on this guy. That'll bring the bed up and bring the bed down as well. So we've got a nice big queen size bed up top. Underneath, now that's built out of T-slot aluminium, and underneath we've got some German pine shiplap, kind of a ceiling lining, which adds a nice wooden homely vibe, we feel. And yeah, this has been really cool. We're happy with it. It took a few iterations. Now we've got a ton of storage under the couch, so we'll pull off the cushions and show you that. Alright, so we've pulled all our cushions off, and now we've got all access to our storage. So first up, push this button here and drop the table down. That's how that table works there. And then I'll go around our storage. So we've got one of our freshwater tanks under here, and basically at the moment we're keeping a lot of spares from the build. So I'm not too sure yet if we're going to need some more plumbing materials or anything like that. We've managed to keep a lot of it that we've kind of squished down into the nether regions under here that isn't really usable for that much else. So we've got some plumbing fittings under here, and that is where our tanks get filled up and our town water fill up on the outside. That goes into a little manifold that I built under here with a couple of non-return valves. So yeah, freshwater tank, and then around onto this side, heaps of storage under here. That's mostly for my spearfishing kit. This one here, got some sleeping bags and our diesel heater. And the other two is our other freshwater tank, some more spare parts, some electrical equipment if I ever need it, some spare parts for the Unimog, and we've got a high pressure sprayer in the corner. So ton of usable space, which is really, really nice. So far we have not reached the capacity of all of our internal storage, which is cool. So that's that part. We'll put the bed down and show you kind of how that works, and then I'll go over the brains of the operation to finish off. Okay, now this is our nightly configuration. So we put a couple of our smaller cushions here, one down the side, and the table goes down. So we've got this nice platform for the bed to be lowered down on. Then I pull out my sail winch, chuck that on here, we lower the bed. Like so. There's the bed. We're washing the sheets at the moment because the weather's not too bad. But yeah, nice good sized queen bed. And then we're left with a few ropes and one of the cables left over for our lighting under here. I haven't thought of a better way to do that yet, but it gives us a nice big open space. The reason we didn't use electric actuators, if any of you ask, is because we weren't able to lift it high enough and drop it low enough with the space we had with the actuators. So that has enabled us with the pulley system to be able to have the bed low enough that we have a lot of headroom and it doesn't feel claustrophobic, and we can sit up in bed and watch a movie if we need to. We've also got some storage underneath the table, which is for odds and ends, boots, that goes all the way back under to the other side, which is nice. Then we've got some power points, got one above the bed there for at night time we can charge our phones. We've got one under here which you usually use for charging our laptops. And then we've also got this Topaji screen, which is our water flow meter. So that way we know how much water we're using and how much water we have left. We have a fuel fan and vent above, so that's a manual cranking lift up hatch, and also a fan that either brings air in or brings air out, and that so far has been really good for cooking and also really good for the exit port for all of our hot electronics. So that'll hot air will rise up, come out here, and this will suck it straight out when we need to. So we don't like the look of it at all. We hate the fact that it's cream and not white, but we can't really change that. But we got it because it's the lowest profile hatch we could find, so outside it doesn't increase our overall height very much at all. Over on this side, got a vent for our electronics. We've got our Enerdrive battery monitor. We've got 2 bank of switches, and we've got our dimmer switch for our main lighting inside here. And then down below, a similar vent for our batteries. So I'll show you in here now. And now to the brains of the operation. And here is our full Enerdrive setup. So it's organized chaos on here, and everything so far has worked so well for us. We're really wrapped with it. So I'll start from left to right, I guess. So we've got our TriStar MPPT solar controller. That deals with our 800 watts of panels up on the roof. Next to it, we've got our DC to DC charger, which handles another 100 watts. We've got 900 watts on the roof, and we've also got another 200 watt solar blanket that we can plug in externally, which I'll show you. This also takes charge from the generator of the Unimog, which is kind of like the Unimog's version of an alternator. And we get 50 amps from that when we're driving, which is really, really nice. Moving on over, we've got our e-power charger. So that deals with when we plug into power somewhere like, you know, Caravan park or someone's house, that will charge our lithium Enerdrive batteries. Down here, we've got our big 2600 watt inverter. Now this is on full time, so it does generate a little bit of heat. That's why I've got ventilation. Now that is basically powering our fridge full time and most of our other appliances. So things like our water heater whenever we need to switch that on, and a few other bits and pieces like our Truma aircon. We've got 240 volt stuff all wired in so that there's breakers, everything's nice and safe as houses. We've got our solar cutoff switch and our main battery cutoff as well. And on the Enerdrive board, we've got all of our fusing, switch breakers, and easy fuse bank to get hold of. On the other side over here, I'm just about to install a fan to help assist with airflow in here, just make sure everything stays nice and cool. And yeah, that's about it in here. The second cupboard is our charging cupboard. So that has our laptops, some power points. We can charge all of our batteries, our Makita stuff there, and then we store our camera equipment and things like that on the shelf below. Alright, third and final cupboard. On the top shelf here, we've got our 200 watt external solar blanket. We don't really have to use that much at all, but it's there just in case. And then we have cabling on top, as well as stuff that's not so easy to store, like my tripod. Then below, back to back, we have our two 200 amp hour lithium batteries, so 400 amp hours of total. And we've made it so that this shelf here will also fit batteries. So we may actually add another 200 amp hour battery there to sort of future-proof ourselves overseas if the weather's not so good. So that's the full energy cabinet. Alright, so that concludes our whirlwind tour of the inside of our camper. Not the easiest space to film 2 people in, but hopefully we did an okay job there.
So we hope we covered everything. If you've got any questions, if you need more clarification, Please let us know in the comments. We'll reply to as many comments as we can on this video.
Hope you liked it. So that was Ange and I over the course of about 6 months on our own with no real experience at all, I guess you could say. We think we did a pretty good job and we stayed within budget, and we're really happy with it. It feels like a little tiny home
It's
now.
our first home together. So yeah, we can't wait to take it on more adventures. So if you are new to the channel here, please subscribe. We've got a lot more adventures coming up.
We do. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you on the next video.